Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Jordan Spurgeon. Thank you for joining us. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey is upping the pressure on the growing number of public school districts defying a state ban on mask mandates. They say they are trying to slow the spread of the coronavirus. The Republican governor announced yesterday schools won't get any cash from a $163 million pot of federal virus relief funds he controls if they don't drop mask rules within 10 days. Schools also will lose out on the $1,800 per student if they have to close because of COVID-19 outbreaks. At least 16 districts teaching nearly a third of the state's public school students now have mask rules.
Anytime you leverage funding against essentially health and safety protocols, you have a problem. And this is no exception. I think it's, unfortunate that the governor and the legislature have chosen to make this an issue of control rather than an issue of public health, which is what it's actually about.
Meanwhile, public health officials continue to urge people to get vaccinated, to social distance, and to wear masks in order to protect the pediatric population. Since many children are unable to be vaccinated at this time, they are at a higher risk of contracting serious COVID infections.
We are seeing more pediatric patients requiring hospitalization here within Valleywise Health than we had been seeing in earlier portions of this within the pandemic.
The increased hospitalization of COVID patients is putting a strain on many hospitals across the valley, including Phoenix Children's Hospital. Conservative groups and Republican lawmakers say they will ask Arizona voters to approve a voter identification requirement for mail-in ballots. The initiative proposed yesterday could create a significant new voting requirement in a crucial battleground state. The measure is the latest GOP effort to impose new voting restrictions following Donald Trump's claims that he lost the 2020 presidential race because of fraud. Supporters say it's important to ensure the integrity of the vote at a time when it's in doubt. Voting rights advocates say imposing new requirements on those voters is inevitably going to lead some votes to be left uncounted. And now a look back at some of the top stories from our sports team.
Phoenix Mercury were among several athletes to speak out in support of tennis star Naomi Osaka, who recently pulled out of the French Open, citing her struggle with mental health. Cronkite News reporter Aaron Slindy takes a closer look at the debate on how athletes are treated by sports leagues and the media.
When Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open, the sports world erupted with conversations about how organizations and the media are supporting athletes' mental health. Osaka was fined by Roland Garros for opting out of the tournament's media obligations. The second-ranked player in the world tweeted that she suffered from bouts of depression and needed to protect herself.
Particularly where she is in the spotlight like that and having to, talk in front of millions of people. I can imagine that that's probably the worst possible scenario for her.
Osaka's tweet drew an outpour of support from fellow athletes, including Phoenix Mercury's BRIANNA Turner.
I feel like people were just kind of looking at athletes as just like for their entertainment value and not for their actual human aspect. We're humans first, athletes second.
Although many supported Osaka for taking a stand and putting her health first, others cited her for contractual responsibility to talk to the press during tournaments. It raises a new debate about player obligations and whether or not they should be allowed to have more control.
I'm really grateful that she came forth with her full story so that people aren't speculating about, her reasons to step away or whatnot.
Osaka says she is taking time away from the court, but hopes to have more meaningful discussions on how players can be better supported in the future. Aaron Slindy, Cronkite News.
After the death of George Floyd, thousands of athletes took a stand to raise awareness about the way people of color are treated by police. Cronkite News reporter Aaron Slindy tells us how police officers coaching youth sports may heal some of the negative feelings about deputies in America.
It's not every day that a person has an encounter with a police officer. But the girls on Ignite Volleyball Club's 14 elite teams spend a lot of quality time with Phoenix police officer Matt MAKINSTER every week.
I really care about building these kids into positive role models in the future, teaching them life lessons that I hope they'll take with me long past volleyball.
MAKINSTER has been coaching club volleyball for 7 years after his own daughters started playing. MAKINSTER spends his time coaching young volleyball players when he is not on patrol.
On his time off, when he should be sleeping, coach other kids and build them up as well, so that we have this positive way of identifying with police officers.
Being both a police officer and a club volleyball coach is not easy, but it is important to MAKINSTER to show the players and the parents that police officers are human beings too.
I've never actually known a cop personally since Coach Matt, so it's made me see them but as actual people. They make jokes and they have fun just like anyone else.
After the death of George Floyd, many Americans started to see police officers in a different light. Police officers that help their communities and coach youth sports could help break some of those barriers that have been made.
We're going to do our job either way, but it is nice to see.
MAKINSTER said he has experienced nothing but support in his role as a police officer from the club and the team. They are grateful for all MAKINSTER has done.
There's so much negativity in the media right now about police officers and that they're the enemy and to be scared of them. And I think connecting with them at a young age and showing them that they're normal people too.
MAKINSTER hopes that coaching volleyball will help more people see police officers through a different lens. In Scottsdale, Erin Slindy, Cronkite News.
For most women, their athletic playing careers end after college with few professional options in the United States. Cronkite News reporter Erin Slindy tells us how a new professional sports league is changing the game for female athletes in the country.
There are many female athletes that dream about playing their sport at the professional level, but there are very few opportunities for females to play professionally in the United States.
You hear a lot about professional athletes for basketball and football going to the NFL or the NBA, but it was like, what's next for volleyball?
Willow Johnson dreamed of becoming a professional volleyball player when she was growing up. Now, that dream is a reality. Johnson played in the new Athletes Unlimited Volleyball League that was located here in the United States. She hopes she can be a role model for the next generation of volleyball players.
I feel unfortunate that I didn't have, I want to be like that girl when I get older. I never had that, and that's because I didn't watch enough volleyball.
Johnson may not have had a volleyball role model, but her dad, former Arizona Diamondbacks Hall of Fame pitcher Randy Johnson, pushed her to be the best.
It's just almost been drilled in me to just be competitive.
Johnson earned a full ride scholarship to the University of Oregon, where she was an All-American and All-Pac-12 honorable mention. Johnson decided to come back home to Arizona, but it wasn't long before she was ready to try playing professionally again.
They were like, there's a spot for you if you want it. And I felt like, okay, at that point, I felt like I was ready.
The league just wrapped up their first season with several matches being played on CBS Sports Network and Fox Sports 1. Playing for a television audience not only showcases the sport, but it also gives the next generation of players a sense of what's possible.
It gives these kids something to look forward to. Not everybody wants to move to another country to continue to, excel in their career. And so I just think it's another outlet.
Young volleyball players around the country can now turn on the TV and watch volleyball being played and covered at the highest level. Johnson was once a young athlete with a dream. Now, young athletes with the same dream can watch players like Johnson and strive to be the next generation of professional volleyball players in the United States. In Phoenix, Erin Slindy, Cronkite News.
The Athletes Unlimited Professional League plans to be back in the fall for the second season of professional volleyball in the
It was a big weekend for mixed martial arts in the Valley with UFC 263 taking place at Gila River Arena in Glendale. This being the first UFC event to take place in Arizona in 2 years. The highlight of the night went to Brandon Moreno, who became the first Mexican-born UFC champion. Cronkite sports reporter Harrison Klopp was there to recap the biggest night of MMA in Arizona history.
Brandon Moreno makes history, Adesanya retains his title, and Arizona is starting to prove why it's becoming such an MMA hotbed.
I came to Arizona with an African who grew up in New Zealand and an Italian. They were the main event, okay? And look at we shattered the gate record here, right?
A lot of Mexican people here in Phoenix, a lot of support, a lot of people support me. When I start to walk to the octagon, all the people was crazy in that moment when I got the real naked choke and won the fight. The people was crazy in that moment.
This is the Phoenix that I love. This is all the best parts about Phoenix that I loved, and the reason that we moved here in the first place all came out during fight week, and it was just such a great experience. And then to go home with the win, I know my girls were in the crowd tonight. Like, some of my best friends flew down from Alaska to come see me, and my old teammates from the lab came to see me, and I just know they were going crazy in the crowd. I know they're so proud of me, and they were here with me all week. It really like filled me up with love. And now when I think about Phoenix, I don't feel brokenhearted anymore. I feel very, very happy, and it was just so good to come here and make so many good memories this week.
There was reportedly a gate record for UFC 263, and Dana White says he would like to do more events here in the future. For Cronkite News, I'm Harrison Klopp.
Going to the Olympics is a dream for many elite-level athletes. Cronkite News reporter Aaron Slindy tells us how one ASU athlete is preparing for the Olympics after a record-breaking throw.
Jorinde Van Klinken is now the world leader in the discus after her throw at the USTA Throws Festival last month.
I kind of just really went for it and like mind off, just go for it. We'll see what happens.
Van Klinken was shocked after she threw over the 70-meter mark. It has been a goal of hers that she did not plan on achieving this early in her career.
I just looked back to all the coaches like, oh my gosh, this cannot be true. It showed 70 and I just fell to the ground, started crying.
Van Klinken considers herself a competitive thrower, which fits the culture and tradition of the ASU throwing program, where they push each other to succeed.
She comes in with a lot of knowledge of just basic instincts of how to compete, because just because you're a good athlete doesn't mean you can compete really well.
I feel like she's competing with herself at all times of the day, trying to be the best form of herself, be the best thrower that she can be.
Van Klinken's throw qualifies her for the 2021 Olympics, where she will compete for her home country of the Netherlands. Her goal is to one day medal in both the shot put and in the discus.
That would be so special to medal in both and show everyone that it is possible to do both and you don't have to choose.
The Pac-12 champion and female field athlete of the year will contend for an NCAA title before setting her sights on the Tokyo Olympics. Aaron Slindy, Cronkite News.
Van Klinken will compete for the NCAA title tonight in the women's outdoor shot put. Her ASU teammate on the men's side, Turner Washington, took the men's outdoor shot put title. It's Washington's second shot put title of 2021, as he was crowned the indoor champ earlier this year.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for Break It Down. That's next. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.